Today, we will discuss about the cognitive perspective, specifically about the Gestalt psychology. So what is Gestalt psychology? Gestalt psychology was at the forefront of the cognitive psychology. It emphasizes the importance of perceiving the whole rather than simply focusing on individual parts. The term Gestalt means form or configuration. Wolfgang Kohler was the founder of Gestalt psychology. He worked at the Psychological Institute in Frankfurt, where he collaborated with Max Wertheimer and Kurt Kafka. Gestalt psychology have 6 principles, and these are law of proximity, law of similarity, law of closure, law of good continuation, law of good pregnance, and law of figure or ground. What is law of proximity? It is when objects that are close together are perceived as belonging together. Let's say, for instance, you see 2 friends standing close together. You think they are together. The next one is the law of similarity. These are elements that look similar will be perceived as part of the same form. For example, the circle, circle, square, circle, circle. Your brain will group the circles together because they look similar. You will think the circles are part of the same group and the square is separate.
Law of closure. We tend to perceive incomplete figures as complete by filling in the missing parts. Tend to fill the gaps or close the figures we perceive. We enclose a space by completing a contour and ignoring gaps in the figure. So for example, you see a drawing of a circle with a small gap. You think it's a complete circle. Law of good continuation. We perceive lines as continuing in their established direction than abruptly changing course. Individuals have the tendency to continue contours whenever the elements of the pattern establish an implied direction. So just like, for example, you see a line that goes behind the box, you think the line continues on the other side. Law of good pregnance. We tend to perceive objects in the simplest and most stable form possible. Based on our experiences with perception, we expect certain patterns and therefore perceive that expected pattern. For example, you see a complicated drawing, so you try to simplify it in your own mind. The next one is the law of figure or ground. We perceive objects as distinct from their background. We tend to pay attention and perceive things in the foreground first. So just like, for example, you see a black shape on a white background, so you think the black shape is the main object. Now let's proceed to insights learning. So insights learning refers to a type of learning that involves a sudden understanding or realization of a problem solution. It's closely related to Gestalt principles because it emphasizes the holistic understanding of a problem rather than a step-by-step approach. In each of these problems, the important aspect of learning was not reinforcement, but the coordination of thinking to create new organizations. So imagine you're trying to open a jar, but it's stuck. Suddenly you think, I can use a rubber band to get a better grip. So with this, it is an insight learning. You suddenly understand the solution. Other psychologists like Kurt Lewin expounded on Gestalt psychology. His theory focusing on life space adhered to Gestalt psychology. He said that an individual has inner and outer forces that affect his perceptions and also his learning.
Inner forces, these are the internal factors within an individual's life space that influence their behavior and perception. This could include motivations, needs, and emotions.
Inner forces include his own motivation, attitudes, and feelings. So just like, for example, imagine you're feeling hungry. This hunger is an inner force that makes you want to eat. And now for the outer forces. This refers to the external factors in an individual's life space that influence their behavior and perception. This could include social pressures, environmental factors, and physical constraints. Outer forces may include the attitude and behavior of the teacher and classmates. All these forces interact and impact on the person's learning. Imagine you're at school and the bell rings. This bell is an outer force that makes you go to your next class.